What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. I am your host, Matthew sonicmix. We're here to talk about anything and anything. It could be music, could be movies, wrestling, video games, sports, anything to talk about, any topics that could be brought up. And we hope that you guys listening to this enjoy this first episode of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. I have a guest at this time here. You will be hearing him a lot more oftenly when it comes to, sports talk, movies, video games, and wrestling. I would like to introduce you to my guest, or maybe may turn into a co-host. He is none other than my good friend who I've known for 8 years, Tony Trinity. Tony, thank you so much for being a part of the first episode of the Let's Talk Anything podcast.
I'm glad to be here.
Definitely so. Well, I guess before we jump into the topics that I want to talk about here today, let's do a little introduction. So, let's start off with you. Just kind of introduce yourself, introduce the audience, and how we met and all that.
Well, first off, you can either call me Tony, Trinity, Trent, Triple Trent, Triple Trinity 06. Let's see, Trips, Triple,
Trips.
you name it, Terminator, whatever. But first things first, I'm a gamer through and through since I was a young kid, a young buck. No pun intended on the staple of young bucks. I digress.
That's in wrestling.
But yes, I was a video gamer ever since I was a young kid. Like I believe I was 6 years old on either a PC or a Macintosh. I forgot which one, but that was my very first platform that I ever played my video games on. Then I upgraded to console. Then I went back to PC. Then I went back to console. So it was back and forth. But I digress. I'm also a wrestling fanatic. Well, not really 100% wrestling fanatics, like some of the people in the world that have been watching it ever since the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a comic nerd. I may not be collecting a lot of comics, but I've gone to a lot of comic conventions. I believe like about 5 of them so far. Been to 3 gaming conventions, so I'm a convention going guy. Even though I want to invite some person on this broadcast here today to a convention, but it's all up to the broadcaster. But I digress. I think he'll have a fun time at it, and he'll probably bring out his inner nerddom. Let's see, what else is there? I love watching sports when I can. Depends on if work doesn't take me away from it. I watch movies. I listen to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of audiobooks as of recently, so there's my added to the repertoire.
Very nice, very nice. And if I can introduce myself, for those that know me or don't know me, or if you're a new listener, my name is Matthew Sonic Mix. I have gone by the name Sonic Mix ever since the MySpace days. Actually, kind of a funny story. I don't hang out with him anymore, but a buddy of mine that I used to hang out with in '07, he had created me well, no, actually it was a high school buddy of mine. It was a high school buddy of mine, and we were trying to come up with an email for me, and I was kind of like, oh boy, well, what email can I use? And yeah, I thought of just going balls out and being like, maybe I'll go Sonic the Hedgehog, because I am a Sonic the Hedgehog nerd fanatic. I am. Always have been. I've always loved the Sonic games. Although the newer Sonic games don't really live up to the hype as they once were. Although, I mean, I did thought the more, well, I wouldn't say they were more recent. Actually, 10 years ago it came out. I think it was 10 years ago. Sonic Colors for the Wii, which that was a good game, but I digress. So I ended up with the name Sonic Mix, and then I I took the name and I took it to the very first ever online game I ever went on to called VMTV, which was called Virtual Laguna Beach. Um, Game lasted for about 2 years. So I've jumped around with that name from email to MySpace when MySpace was like the biggest social networking king at the time. Now it's a music thing, which I find it sort of hilarious. um, and I've taken the name to Xbox and PS4 right here on YouTube. I'm even carrying the name still to this day. So I've carried the name Sonic Mix for almost 12 and a half years now.
So I have a personal question.
Go ahead. What's the question?
Uh, where did the end part of the username, nickname, whatever you want to call it, came about? Mix. Why
Just
mix? Why not something else?
Well, like I said, I was gonna go full blown Sonic the Hedgehog, but obviously, it was already used or something like that. And then I
Got it.
thought, well, why not Sonic 1991? Because I mean, obviously, Sonic was born in 1991, and that
And I know
didn't
that.
work. That didn't help. And then I thought, well, let me get a little creative here. What if I just said Sonic Mix? And it worked. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll run with this then.
Hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know.
Yeah. So no, like I said, I've taken the name through all of online gaming and all that. People catch on to it really quick. You know, when they see Sonic, obviously they think of Sonic the Hedgehog. But the mix part is kind of what gets them. It's like, well, where does the mix come from? And honestly, it was just a thrown in name. I just threw it in there in all
Very nice.
honesty.
Very
Um
nice.
I guess personal life wise, I currently work at a warehouse. I'm not gonna mention any names, of course. But I am going to go back. Oh wow, sorry, I'm getting all this. I get this hype and excitement, people. Sorry about that. Maybe I should
Hold
talk a
on,
little
hold
slow.
on. Let's back it up there a minute, dude. Let's go and check, man. We don't
Yeah,
want to go jump in the game, you know.
yeah. Um. So yeah, I work at a warehouse, and I'll be going back to school in a couple weeks, actually.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank you very much. Video gaming wise, I've been video gaming since the early 90s. I can remember, the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo. And kind of on the same subject with video games, but if I can also add music to it, I can remember when Duke Nukem, Quake, and Doom was the big three in PC gaming. And I can remember when
Oh yeah.
NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys, and the Spice Girls was the big three five-member band in the 90s of music.
At least it's not a three-man band.
Which actually, I don't mean to side away from this introduction, but I recently heard that the Spice Girls came back.
I did not know that. But thank you for the information.
Yeah, I guess they recently did a tour somewhere. I don't know where they went, but I heard that they came back for like a reunion tour, which is kind of funny in a way because the Backstreet Boys, they've been around forever. They've never disbanded. Spice Girls disbanded, but now they're reunited again. Now we're just waiting for NSYNC.
Well, talk to Justin Timberlake, man.
Yeah, talk to him. But yeah, so that's basically the profile of me. And then I guess for those that are listening to this, if you're wondering, well, how do I know my friend Tony here for 8 years? We actually met at the same college that him and I went to. We met in the cafeteria, as a matter of fact. It was very random, but I remember the friendship did not take off until we had history class together in 2013. Yeah, it was 2013.
Hold
Uh,
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. It may not have taken off with you, but guess what? It was one of the things that we had in common that brought us to being friends. And I've always said this to a lot of people. I've associated myself, and I find the greatest of friends that are wrestling fans, and that's the very first practically love for me is wrestling. And I remember two guys in the cafeteria that had a wrestling shirt on that drew me to them, and then ultimately drew me to you because you're into wrestling and still are, and I believe your favorite guy was Shawn Michaels, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes, you're right. He's still my all-time favorite.
because you wanted to look like him with your long hair, your clean shaven face, yada yada yada, and you are, I believe, the same height as Shawn Michaels, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Michaels is like 6'1". I'm about 6'2".
Close enough. Shawn Michaels' height wise. I digress.
Speaking of height, if I just want to say this really quick. Not too long ago, I was at an Evolve show, right here in Chicago, and Walter was there. And what's funny is, you see Walter, he's this big, massive dude. He's towering over people. You think this guy looks like 6'8", 6'9" in the ring. But I actually stood upright next to Walter, and believe it or not, I'm about the same height as him. He might be an inch taller, but it's funny because you look at him on TV and you think, wow, this guy looks like a tower, 6'8", 6'9". Here he's like maybe 6'2", 6'3" at best.
Well, only two people that I know of that could probably stand taller than him are like the likes of Randy Orton, like that of Batista, uh, Drew Galloway, McIntyre, whatever you want to call him nowadays. Probably even John Morrison. I don't know.
Yeah.
Big
Well,
Show.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That goes without. Big Show. That goes without saying.
Yeah. Um, but no, I mean, I think Walter definitely works well with the smaller guys because it just makes him look like this giant of a man.
And there's like one, I believe, where we live, a live show. When Randy Orton came out, when I saw him, like I believe 5 rows back, I believe it was with me and my best friend.
Uh,
Uh, he looks pretty tall, but I'm like what 5'9" at best. So him being tall would go without saying. But he looks very slender in real life, though.
Interesting. But back to the introductions, then we'll jump into our first topic. I remember so once again, we spoke a lot before history and after history. We would hang out in the hallways, and kind of one of the bright spot moments that I remember. I think this was before class, but it was you, me, and a couple of the guys, and we got talking about like submissions, and I remember I had dared you to put me in a sleeper hold. Do you remember that?
I vaguely do.
Yeah, it was you, me, and a couple of the guys that we used to hang around with. And I forgot how the topic was brought up, but I remember saying, why don't you put me in a sleeper hold? Because I've never been put in a sleeper hold before. So you were like, okay, well, let me give it to you. So you put me in the sleeper hold, and one of the guys pointed out, and he was like, yeah, man, his face is turning blue. Let go, let go, let go. Of course, I couldn't tell if I was or not, but I know you had let go, and I remember you held on. You had it on for like maybe a good 6 to 7 seconds. I was holding my breath. That's what I remember.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that when you get into sleeper hold because you got to breathe, man. Unless if I hit the carotid artery at a good angle, that might be the only reason why you turn blue in the face. But I digress. Uh, for being not a wrestling guy, well, per se, I did it probably for about 6 months in high school, but I digress. Uh, but a professionally wrestling hold like that, I was never trained or anything like that, so I guess doing that for my first shot, I didn't do too bad.
No, no, you didn't do bad whatsoever. So that wraps up our introduction. So let's jump into the video games here. We got some big announcements here with the PS5, the Xbox X Series or Series X, uh,
Series X.
Series X. Two big consoles coming out this holiday season. I guess I gotta ask you, what do you think is gonna happen with the two consoles?
Well, from what I've been hearing, that it's going to be similar specs across the board, even though I'm hearing that the PlayStation 5 will be having a little bit of a horsepower to it because of one reason and one reason only, and that is the virtual reality aspect of things. Uh, but as far as the next gaming consoles go, they will officially have full blown keyboard mouse functionality, like full blown, like you could use a third party service
Mm-hmm.
like a Razer or a Logitech or something like that. I think they already started with like a Logitech, but you have to have like a dongle, so that might be a thing for the Series X and the PlayStation 5. And I'm hearing that for a mixer portion of things, you could use a third party webcam for the Xbox. And I believe it is a Logitech that you could start using on. So we got to wait for how Twitch answers to that. And maybe it might be for this year too. So instead of using like the Kinect for it, you could use like a Logitech, which is going to be a whole lot better. It's going to make gaming or the broadcasting industry a whole lot better for it. If you don't have uh, built or pre-built PC in hand, so you can talk to your chat. And then I pray they bring back Snap and App, because if you don't have a PC or a tablet or a cell phone to read your chat, what's the point of having it? You know?
Who do you think is gonna win in the battle of the console wars?
Well, I can tell you one thing: they're going to be coming out the same day. So at this point, I think it may be a draw this time around.
Really?
I, yeah, because it all depends on where your friends and family are. If they're on Xbox, you're going to be on Xbox. If you're on PlayStation, you're going to be on PlayStation. So it all depends. Only thing that might make a difference is if they do full blown cross platform with similar titles. Because if you are on, say, PlayStation, why not play with Xbox and PC users? Or if you're on Xbox, why don't you play with PlayStation or PC users? Or if you're on PC, why don't you play with Xbox or PlayStation users? You know what I mean? Uh, and I pray that one of these days that they do come out with World of Warcraft on a gaming console, because that may make everything a possibility and make more of a cross-platform come to pass. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny in a way. I mean, you got games like Terra that is a PC game, but yet it's on major
Xbox.
consoles like Xbox and PS4. You have a game like Black Desert that was on PC. Now that's on Xbox and even mobile. I just kind of wonder, what is it about World of Warcraft that has not been on consoles yet? Is it the engine? Is it the game mechanic? Like, would they have to
Uh,
like start from
I could
scratch?
I could tell you one reason why it hasn't been on console yet, and it's the biggest reason why they haven't been on console yet, is the keyboard and mouse functionality. Because unless if you are able to eliminate half of the extra commands that you're supposed to do and put it into a controller format, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna work. So they would have to officially make it on keyboard and mouse functionality just to make it work.
I guess I gotta ask you, and we'll say this for the record and for the audience listening to this. How did you get into World of Warcraft?
Well, it was funny in a way that I was seeing on commercials being advertised like crazy. I'm like, huh, it looks like an interesting game. And actually, a buddy of mine's ex girlfriend, or whatever you want to call it, uh, actually played with me back in the day. And she actually helped me out with it, and I actually stuck around with it for about 6 months to maybe a possibility a year. Stupidly leave me to pay the subscription though at that young of an age, because back in the day I never really had that much money. I didn't have a job or anything like that, so it actually hurt me financially. But I actually stuck through it
Is it
because
still
there's
15 a month?
15, 16, something like that for a month, and then I believe it's like up to $75 for 6 months or some crap like that, if I'm not mistaken. And plus, on top of that, if you live in a certain state, you get charged a sales tax on top of that.
Yeah, I've
So
noticed
you're
the
screwed.
tax on PS4 when you want to buy like a digital game on PS4, there's a sales tax on it now.
Yeah, and technically, sales tax is technically illegal, but they're not doing much about that because somehow or another it balances the books out. I don't know where, I don't know how, but it just does. But I think Sony was the last console to do a sales, or not a sales tax, but now they're on board with sales tax because it was overseas. That's the only reason why they got away with not having a sales tax, because it is indeed an overseas product. I believe it's Japan or China or something like that. I think it's Japan for Sony. So Microsoft was America, so that's why they got charged with a sales tax. Nintendo, I believe, was second in command for that. Obviously, PC was sales tax, and Macintosh was too. So, what made Sony so special not having a sales tax for all those years? I don't know.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. Well, I can't blame them. A lot of people were pissed off about the whole sales tax and
Well, I
PS4.
wouldn't blame them.
But I think the people being pissed off with that is the equivalent to a very iconic story, actually, still in the gaming news. I mentioned about the battle of Xbox Series X and the PS5. And we turn back the page, God, 6 years now, I think, 7 years. The introduction of the Xbox One X, where during the conference, they're talking and they're saying, yeah, it's gonna be $500 and you have to be online all the time. Even single player mode, you have to always be online, and boy, did people get pissed.
Actually, that was the original Xbox One,
Right?
like the
Yeah.
OG, not the X, not the S. But I think it dawned on them and it sunk in their heads. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold your horses. Uh, PlayStation didn't do that. Nintendo didn't do that. So why are we going to have to do that now? So they changed their minds. But that was a whole lot of backlash, a lot of bashing on Microsoft, saying, "Oh, you got to be online, and if you're not online, your account can get suspended." If I'm not mistaken. So that hurt them a lot in the early part of their career. But ever since the X came about and the PlayStation 4 came about, I mean the 4 Pro rather, sorry about that, uh, and the whole add-ons to Xbox, all of a sudden, like each year they came out with something new every single year, and that actually boosted their sales at the tail end of it. And I believe it was like an E3 about a year or two ago that even Sony started becoming weaker in their E3, and Microsoft became more strong at their E3 conference. And last year, we didn't even have a PlayStation E3 unless if you're doing like individual games that they were hinting on PlayStation, but still they didn't have one.
That's kind
So
of the problem now with E3, is that many years ago Nintendo had a conference, Sony had a conference, Xbox has a conference. Now Nintendo has that direct thing, Sony has the direct thing. Xbox, Bethesda, Square Enix, they're the only ones so far that have conferences, but I feel like give it about 4 to 5 more years, everything is going to be direct.
actually, Xbox does have a direct one, but it's not in the States. It's, I believe, in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, that they have one.
Okay, I actually didn't know that.
I believe I read about that. They do have one in Mexico, but they're planning to bring like a XO XO or XB conference up in the States, but they haven't figured out when or how they're going to go about doing that.
So I guess I gotta ask you before we jump into our next subject. The Xbox X series or the PS5? Which one are you getting first, or are you going hardcore and getting both?
Probably both, because crazily enough, on top of that, I might get a new cell phone for Christmas. So why not upgrade all my technology by then? Because the I've always been the kind of guy that would actually buy the Xbox first, but especially with the original Xbox I've got on day one in 2013, I believe it was, and then the S I got on day one, the X I got on day one because that's why I got the what is it, Project
Scorpio
Scorpio?
logo.
Yeah, on the controller and on the Xbox itself. So with Scarlet, I pray that day one edition comes out with like a red form instead of like a black form. That'd be pretty freaking sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
And
would
then,
look pretty cool.
because I'd be looking like my, what is it, Gears of War edition of the Xbox One S that I got. Uh, PlayStation 5, I'm will be getting as well, because why do I have to discriminate one console over the next? And there's another news about the gaming industry that I found out recently today that I sent Sonic Mix over here the information that they are now having like a hybrid PC gaming console.
Yeah, I was reading about that article that you were reading me. So computers now basically having the same engine and power as the Xbox One X and the PS4.
I believe it's the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One S
Oh,
power.
S. I thought it was the X.
No, it's the S because it's purely digital nowadays for the S, with a little bit of a horsepower than the original S that they have. So it is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the article they said it's $2,500,
Yeah.
but you had to pick one or the other. So they're going to have two editions. One, if you're a Sony kind of guy, you're going to get the Sony version of it, or if you're a Microsoft kind of guy, then you're going to get the Microsoft form of it.
And
So there's
I'm
that.
sure most of the games, like if you play Steam, like I do from time to time, I'm sure it could run high graphics very well, but Ultra probably not so well.
No, never Ultra, unless if you're building a PC like me.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I rather would build my own PC where it's like, I mean, God, I don't even know what the hell GTX series we're in now. I think it's like the 1120s or something like that. But no, actually,
Something
we
like
were having
that.
this conversation a few days ago. You know, I'm looking up these laptops here. I'm like, okay, how expensive can these laptops go? And I showed you the picture of the one for $6,500, and it was like an i9 64 gig RAM. I'm like, oh my God, this is like beyond lightning speed. Good Lord.
Actually, back in the day, if I was crazy enough, I was actually looking up stuff like that all the time of laptops and like the fully decked out Alienware, whatever, and if they came out to about that price back 10 years ago
Well,
or
oh
15 years
yeah.
ago.
It's funny that you mentioned Alienware. I mean, Alienware is still a popular gaming computer these days,
It
still.
is. It is.
But like I go back to like 2005, 2006 Alienware, where yes, it was the most expensive hardware to get. But think about this: if you spent $5,000 on an Alienware back in 05, 06 with an i7, you could probably get that same exact hardware now for like maybe half that price, maybe 3K.
You're not wrong with that because now I looked it up again, like about 5 years ago when my MacBook Pro ended up copping out. I'm like, you know what? I want to see how much Alienware costs nowadays, and it's not as bad as it used to be. Even fully decked out, because I think they went down in price because they knew that technology was advancing that much faster. So the even more decked out nowadays, because they have like the newer like version of Intel, and that is now the i9, and that's the mother load of all mother loads. Only if you are doing, say, gaming and broadcasting, you're fine. But once you start doing editing, that's when it starts going downhill. If you do all three, then that's when it goes downhill. But if you do two at a time, say if you're doing broadcasting and editing, then it's fine. If you do gaming and editing, that's fine. If you do gaming and broadcasting, that's fine. But if you do all three, then that's when it starts going downhill.
Yeah.
But if you do Ryzen, like the Ryzen 3 chips at 39,
Those are becoming very popular now.
which is an AMD product, it is becoming more popular nowadays. With that being said, it's more so for people who are gaming, broadcasting, and editing all at the same time. So that is a lot better for those kinds of people. And I've done a lot of research upon that, and everybody agrees on that statement, and they so wholeheartedly agree with that. But now, coming in 2020, they are already coming out with laptops that are having like a hybrid Intel AMD chip processor. If anybody who has ever built a PC, they know how AMD chips look like. They know how Intel chips look like. Intel chips look a lot bigger, like 2 times the size to that of AMD. And I know that to be a fact because I've seen it up close and personal one day in the past when I went to my very first computer convention with my uncle and my father one day. And that was pretty freaking badass. I saw motherboards, I saw RAMs, I saw ribbons, I saw you name it in the computers back in what was it, 15 years ago. I've seen it up close and personal, and I've seen how chips were back in the day, and now I'm having like a Ryzen chips, and it looks a whole lot smaller than the Intels were. But with the hybrid, it's like the Intel is on one side and the AMD is on the other side. So there's that.
Yeah.
And it's only in laptops, not in desktops just yet, mind you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous like how expensive like one can spend on, on computer parts or a laptop. Like I said, I go back to the laptop that I sent you a few days ago, 6500. But yet you can even build a computer, a PC that's up to 6500. If you've got the money, you could probably build like the most.
No,
No. We haven't got that. We haven't
no.
gotten to that point yet.
They haven't gotten that graphics card up that level yet. It may get to 25 like that PC that you could run either PlayStation or Xbox on. I think it's 2,500 up to $3,000 for build, like you build your own PC kind of deal. But if you do say one graphics card, one motherboard, one processor, it could be a maximum 25. But the bare minimum is like about 1,500. But the only reason why it's so much is because of this Bitcoin business that's going on around these days. That is the only reason why graphics cards as high as it is now is because of Bitcoin. The maximum price for a graphics card is $1,500. Picture that, guys.
Yeah.
That is a 28 or 2080 Ti is 1,500. And now this year, from what I'm doing a lot of research on, they're already rolling out 3080 Ti's. What now, guys? Are you guys going to bite that? Are you going to guys buy that for the people who are building their computers? And plus, those are going to be running 8K, 16K, 8K easy on ultra settings, 16K maybe on high settings,
Yeah,
and and,
ridiculous.
and virtual reality at the same time. But I won't be doing that just yet.
No, no,
Maybe,
I don't see myself doing that. No way. No way whatsoever.
but picture this, and maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe when I build my second rig, it might consist of the top of the line graphics card, because hopefully I'll have a better paying job by then, that I could afford that, and a much more upgradable chip processor. Maybe by that time, Intel and AMD will finally shake hands, and you could run both at the same time.
Yeah.
But I digress about the gaming business.
Yeah, so moving on to our next subject here, wrestling. So, as you know, we both watched WWE Monday Night Raw. I thought it was a decent show. I thought Andrade versus Ray was pretty good. Apparently, McIntyre is now a good guy, which I found to be a little unique. I don't know where they're quite going with that. And I guess this
Is he
whole
really a good guy, or is he more of like a tweener? Because that is a terminology nowadays. People
yeah,
don't
yeah,
realize it.
tweener. I don't know because I don't know if this is his shtick now, or if only if it's because of the Rumble. But before he hits the Claymore kick, he goes 3, 2, 1 and hits the Claymore kick. I don't know if that's just for the Rumble or if that's like his oh hey I'm about to hit my finisher type of gesture.
Well, I actually quite find that to be a unique way of doing the finisher for him, actually, because I've seen him in TNA Impact. He never did that. I've seen him back in the day, WWE. He never did that. So it may be his new thing that may be going out these days.
Now, speaking of the Royal Rumble, we kicked off the show with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
That's
And
a huge pipe bomb that Paul Heyman did.
yeah, oh yeah, and then the best part, he kicks off by saying Happy New Year, bitches. I about laughed when he said
I
that.
mean, I mean, what the actual ass, man? I thought this was supposed to be a PG show, but you have Paul Heyman that comes out on the freaking
Oh
mic
god.
and he goes cussing up the storm just like Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock. So why not make those episodes PG-13 and make the other episodes just regular PG? Because we all know that's what happens when those three guys come on the mic.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so he's cutting a promo. He's basically saying that there's nobody in Brock Lesnar's league. There's no challenge for Brock Lesnar. Thus, he is going to be in the Royal Rumble match and he's entering at the number 1 spot. And
You know what? You know what? You know what? I have three guys in mind right now who's going to win. I'm making my early predictions right here, right now. Well, I have four. If it's not Drew Galloway, aka Drew McIntyre, if it's not Roman Reigns, or if it's not what's that guy, Killian Dane from NXT, if it's truly Brock Lesnar, will they finally unify the titles at this year's WrestleMania if that's the case?
now, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, unless I missed it, is this for the title? Is this for the belt or no?
They haven't announced that
Okay.
stipulation just yet. If it is for the belt,
Then
that's going to be
Brock almost
interesting.
has to seem he almost seems that he has to win. I mean well that oh well of course. Let's see how storyline progression is on Raw NXT cuz Heyman did mention NXT so there has to be some NXT guys for this one and
Yeah,
SmackDown.
because I actually read online that there's one guy that's predicting that Killian Dane might be winning it all.
Uh, I'm thinking more of a Keith Lee.
Or maybe the guy that beat Keith Lee
Oh,
at this
Roman
year's Survivor
Reigns.
Series. And plus, I'm also having a strong rumor that if Roman Reigns does indeed win, that he's going to take the title off of the Fiend.
Oh boy, I, I don't like that idea.
Because I saw him holding both the blue title and the Fiend title up in the air. What does that mean?
Well, no, you got to think storyline here. I mean, normal Bray would have the normal title, and then the Fiend would have his own title, like transformed, I guess you could say.
But then, if he holds two titles, and then let's just say Roman Reigns gets it off of the normal, or the Firefly Funhouse, Bray Wyatt, not the Fiend, what does that make it for SmackDown? Do they have two champions?
No, I think they would just utilize it as the title has now been transformed back, per se, to the original WWE, or in this case, the Universal title.
That's going to be interesting of how they're going to do with that storyline. Pending if Bryan does not win it at this year's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, true.
Because we have that in the mix. But if Brock Lesnar wins it, then who does he go after? Does he go after Adam Cole, or does he go after the Fiend? You don't know.
Well, I mean, let's see if the title is going to be on the line, and if not, it does it does leave a big question mark on who could win it. Because last year it was easily predictable, at least I thought it was, on who was going to win. This year around, maybe I think the women's is going to be Baszler if she's going to be in it. But with the men's side, I don't know. It could be a toss up.
So if Baszler wins, that's automatically going up against Becky Lynch.
Right.
But I think with the whole Asuka storyline, from what I've been hearing about it with another coworker, that finally Asuka's going to get caught with a green mist against Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble. And she's going to intentionally get herself disqualified by doing that.
No, I don't think she's not going to get intentionally disqualified. Because as you know, the storyline is that Asuka has Becky's number. Becky cannot defeat this woman. And I think Becky gets her redemption and gets the win at the Royal Rumble. That's the storyline that makes the most sense.
We shall see.
But no, I thought this Raw was decent. And actually, I guess I should point this out really quick here. I did not know about this till tonight. But they've been promoting the NXT UK takeover and the Blackpool 2. And it's this Sunday. Yeah, I thought it was next week Saturday. And here I'm like, oh,
no.
Crap, it's actually this Sunday.
I think Sundays are usually the Blackpool one, or was it on Saturday? I always forget.
No, it was on Saturdays.
So I guess it's the first time ever for this.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to do another show, maybe Friday nights, and do our predictions for Blackpool. Even though I really don't watch the NXT UK brand anymore. I mean, although, now with a laptop now, which I just recently got, maybe like during like my lunch breaks or something like that. Like maybe I could watch like the first 30 minutes of it and then watch the other 30 minutes later or something like that. I could do that.
What, you're going to bring your laptop to work?
Well, no. I mean, I'm not going to do that. Well, once I go back to school, if I'm kind of falling behind a little bit, sure, probably just bring it to work with me just so that I can do it. Or if I just want to be ahead of the game, I mean, I got the laptop, so might as well.
That's a good point.
But no, yeah. So we'll be going in blind with our predictions on Friday. If you're going to be available for Friday night after SmackDown.
I think I am available because think it's a short shift for me because I do work part-time, which is not good for people who have to make money nowadays. But I digress. I am off later on Friday, so we do our predictions for the Blackpool on that day.
All right.
And it will be a fresh start for our predictions.
Yeah.
And
So for those that
now,
don't know, we keep score of how many pay-per-views that we've won, lost, and even tied. And if we do tie, we call it Cat's Game. Uh,
how about for this new decade, we have a new set of rules for these predictions, shall we?
what did you had in mind, good sir?
Have one separate category for NXT that encompasses regular NXT US and NXT UK, and do NXT only predictions, and have their own category, like their win-loss tie record, and then the main roster, like on Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, what have you, have their own win-loss record. Unless if it comes on the Survivor Series again this year, that they're going to have all three, which there's going to be another lackluster of a freaking event. Don't mind you, it was pretty freaking badass, but will they have their own special category at that point, Like for Survivor Series purposes only. We shall see, because I've been hearing the strong rumor that nowadays, to help out NXT, they're going to do cross-branded people that are going to be going on NXT and NXT to the main roster. So we shall see what happens this year. But let's try that for this year. Because have NXT have their own win-loss record, and main roster have their own win-loss record.
Okay, we could definitely try, but if it gets a little confusing, then we'll just combine everything as the overall.
That wouldn't mind by me.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how we've always done it for the last couple of years, 3 years to be exact. Then
NXT, but NXT wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah,
especially being on live television.
True, exactly. And then we're gonna wrap things up with this final topic here, and that is the wild card games from this past weekend. We had the Vikings against the Saints, we had the Bills and the Texans, the Seahawks against the Eagles, and then the shocking and probably the most talked about one, the Tennessee Titans against the New England Patriots. I'm just gonna go through really quick what I thought about with each match.
Because I never watched any one of them.
Right, so I can kind of give you the breakdown here. So I'm going to be kind of quick, but not too quick. And we're going to save Tennessee and the Patriots for last. So Bills against Texans. I thought it was a good match. The Bills were kind of running away with it the first.
Hold on. Correct terminology, buddy. It is not a match. This isn't wrestling. This isn't UFC. It is a game. For ball games, say game. For all else, say matches. Capiche?
Okay.
Continue.
I'm sorry. We got the wrestler part in me. So I thought the game was good. The first half, the Bills were not like dominating, but they were leading by a good margin. And Deshaun Watson, of the quarterback of the Texans, he wasn't doing much. He was getting sacked multiple times. I think 7 they counted. But the gears were definitely rolling with him in the third quarter. Now, I forgot what quarter it was, but they got very lucky. The Texans did. So it was during the kickoff, and one of the players on the Texans, he was in the end zone, and he's waving his hand off as to symbol, I'm not going to catch the ball. Well, he catches the ball, takes a step forward, throws the ball away. Well, somebody on the Bills grabs the ball, they ruled it a touchdown. So there's this mass confusion, and then the refs decided that he gave himself up, so thus it was a touchback. And let me tell you something. That was the key moment there, because if they would have let that been counted as a touchdown, it would have been 19-0 with the extra point being 20-0. I think the Bills would have won. I strongly think the Bills would have won. So Tennessee, or not Tennessee, I'm sorry, the Texans, they kept bouncing. They were throwing touchdown after touchdown. Finally, we get to the end. It's 19-19. We go into overtime. The Bills were getting very lucky on third downs. Like they were hanging on by a thread, but they were getting off these lucky passes. And then finally they just kind of just bit the dust, and Tennessee was fighting back, and they kicked the field goal and they won. The final score for that game was Tennessee 22, Bills 19. They were eliminated. Seahawks against the Eagles.
Hold on. I feel like in most memory that I've had with football, nothing has ever done in overtime. What is it about nowadays that they go in overtime? You know what I mean?
Well, God, I feel like we had a lot of overtime games this season. At least I felt like it was a lot.
And last year and the year before that, especially the one Patriots victory, they won in overtime, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was the Super Bowl. Oh, and
And
the AFC Championship as well.
And I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, and my memory serves me correctly, even in MLB, the most famous Indians versus the Cubs in 2016, I believe it was, where they ended up in overtime or the 13th inning or whatever. And it was the rain delay that made the Cubs win that one day at the seventh game. So what is it about last decade that they've either won in overtime or in extra innings? What's the deal, man?
I have no idea. Eagles against the Seahawks. I thought this was okay. It was kind of boring. Nothing too much happened. Boy, I feel so bad for Carson Wentz. He was taken out 9 minutes into the first quarter, so they got this, concussion. They claim it was a concussion because he had to go back to the locker room. So one of the backups, his name was Josh McCook. McCook. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. I guess he's been around for a really long time. He's hopped around with multiple teams, and yeah, like once that happened, I kind of smelled the doom of the Eagles from pretty much a mile. Like I kind of thought maybe they may have a chance, but in the end,
ha, Eagles fans.
yeah,
You guys won it one year, and now look at you guys now. You guys are losing. You guys are losing.
Yeah.
Ha.
But yeah, so really quick, I thought it was okay. I feel bad for Carson Wentz being taken out 9 minutes in the first quarter with the concussion thing. Um, Seahawks did not dominate, but I thought they did look good for this match. Seahawks won 17-9. Minnesota Vikings against the Saints. This was good. This was the game where the Saints needed to get redemption for the infamous Minnesota Miracle a couple years ago. And it goes into overtime, and the controversial play. So the Vikings is in the end zone. It's third down, and Kirk Cousins throws the ball, and one of the receivers, I forgot who it was, he does a push off to one of the Saints players, catches the ball, scores the game winner. Well, a lot of people were saying, well, wait a minute, that should be offensive interference. Where's the call on that? Especially when there was a ref clearly looking at it. But I guess the push off wasn't really much of a push off or something like that. I mean, it kind of looked like he may have pushed him off, maybe, because he did kind of goes back. The Saints defenseman did. But what's done is done, and the Saints yet again choke the Minnesota Miracle from a couple years ago, the what should have been clearly pass interference and it wasn't against the Rams, and now we can say the no push off call against the Vikings. Oh jeez.
Vikings are in, right?
Yes. And then finally, the game that probably most people talked about, and that was the Titans against the Patriots. Uh, First of all, I gotta give some praise to Derrick Henry, one of the running backs of the Titans. He put in over 100 yards, close to 200 yards, in that game, rushing yards.
Damn.
Uh, he
Damn.
he put at least 100 plus in the first half, and I think at least 50 to 70, somewhere between those numbers, in the second half. So he was very impressive. And the Patriots defense had no answer for him. But like I'm watching this game, and I'm actually getting really into this game here. So in the second quarter, uh what was it? In the second quarter, I think it was like, yeah, it was 14 to 13, fourth quarter. Tennessee's leading by 1. And Tennessee has the ball, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, is this going to happen? Are we seeing the upset here?" So they kick a punt, and they're able to bring the Patriots down to the 1 yard line. Now, at this moment, and I'm sure anybody listening to this, watching this, thought the same thing I thought. These guys, Tom Brady is going to make a comeback. He's going to go from 1 yard to a touchdown in 4 plays. It's almost got to happen. And on the first hike of the ball, he throws for a pick six interception, and the Titans player takes it in for a touchdown, which then brought it to 20 to 13.
Yeah.
And now I will say this. They were going to go for a 2 point conversion, because if they were to get a 2 point conversion, there'd be no way that the Patriots could make a comeback, which they failed on the 2 point conversion. Now, I'm looking at this scenario now, and I'm thinking, okay, here's what I could see happening. One of the guys on the Patriots team is going to get it. He's going to maybe take, maybe say 5 or 6 steps, and he's going to purposely fall with about 3 seconds left, maybe 2 seconds left. And Brady is just going to go for the ultimate Hail Mary. I'm seeing this. I can so visually see this in my head. But shockingly, they decide to play lateral with the ball, and it didn't go anywhere because there was a miscue or whatever happened, but the guy just throws the ball away, and then Tennessee got the ball. So, yeah, Tennessee won in what I would say is the biggest upset ever. Final score for that game was 20 to 13. And now begs the question, now that Tom Brady is a free agent, and I guess we could talk about this for a good while. Now that Brady is a free agent, is his last play a pick six interception to end his career?
Well, when I was at my girl's house yesterday, and she has Comcast, and they have one of those little screensaver things.
Uh-huh.
They said that Tom Brady, after that loss, is not retired. He's not retiring.
No, I really don't believe he's not gonna retire. I mean, he's 42 years old. He'll be 43 in August. You know, here, I mean, if I had to make this prediction right now, I say that he signs back with the Patriots, but maybe for another 2 years, maybe 3 years. I say once he hits 45, he'll call it quits.
I think he will retire officially when they finally conquer of all conquers and become the New York Yankees for the NFL and has the most NFL Super Bowl championships in their repertoire over the Steelers.
Because they're tied with them right now at 6-6.
Correct. So one of two things is going to either happen for Tom Brady. Either the Steelers gets their seventh victory, or the Patriots get their seventh victory. If the Steelers get their seventh victory, then Tom Brady says, "Oh, screw this! I'm hanging on my boots or my helmet too." Or if the Patriots win their seventh, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to hang up his boots and he's going to hang up his helmet at that point. Only when that happens.
Now, if we can just now we're just pretending here. Let's say Tom Brady is officially done. Let's just pretend for just a moment.
Okay.
You figure the 20-year career that this guy has had is truly outstanding, and it's a once in a lifetime moment to see. 6-time Super Bowl champion, multi-time MVP, more times than I can count, AFC East champion with the New England Patriots. He is someone in our lifetime that took the Patriots to 16-0 in the regular season game. Although he did lose, they would lose to the Giants in the Super Bowl, but going 16-0, very impressive nonetheless. He's truly NFL's gift. And I really think there will never be, first of all, there will never be another Tom Brady. And I really think that it's going to be a very long time. It may not even be in our lifetime. Maybe after our lifetime, sure. But I don't think nobody's never going to match the numbers of Tom Brady. I really think we will never see a quarterback, just a quarterback, have 6 rings. I think Brady will be up there for an extremely long time.
Could I tell you something?
What's that?
Tom Brady, right now, as it stands, is the John Cena and Ric Flair for the NFL.
You know what's funny? I had always compared the Patriots and Tom Brady to John Cena, and it's a good comparison because
Hold on. Patriots, no. Yankees, yes. Patriots, not yet. They haven't gotten 16 yet. If they end up being 16 within our lifetime, then sure, we could say that. But as of right now, no. Maybe like a Randy Orton or a CM Punk, sure, but nowhere near John Cena and Ric Flair's record.
Well, no. I'm saying Cena because just like Cena back 10 years ago, 12 years ago, he was always in the title picture, always in the main event, always in the major storyline. The Patriots from the early 2000s up to now, they were always in the playoffs. They were always in the AFC Championship. Sometimes they were in the Super Bowl, but they were always in not the wild card, the playoff, the actual playoff itself. They were always in there, always in the AFC, sometimes in the Super Bowl. And this is the first time ever that the Patriots, in a super long time, is not going to be in the regular playoffs. You have the Vikings against the 49ers. You have the Seahawks against the Packers. You have the Texans against the Chiefs. And then you have the Titans against the Ravens.
Can I tell you something that's really funny that you haven't pictured this yet? Where has John Cena been lately? Where has he been?
Making movies.
He hasn't had a very long time match in over a year.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a match in 2019 ever, if I'm not mistaken.
You are right. Yeah.
And look what happened to the Patriots. Look what happened to the motherfucking Patriots.
The Dolphins beat them to bring them down to the wild card, and the Titans, of all people, with a 9-7 record, beated the 12-4 New England Patriots. When the Patriots was probably the most very heavily team to win. I thought they were
But
gonna win. I thought they were gonna win.
I mean, almost everybody, including their own mother, thought that the Patriots was going to win.
Actually, you know what's funny in a way? I had made my predictions um, with a buddy of mine, and this is the teams I picked. I said that the Bills would beat the Texans, the Seahawks would beat the Eagles, the Patriots would beat the Titans, and that the Saints would get their revenge on Minnesota. And I was only right on one, and that was the Seahawks. Everything else I was wrong with.
And one really funny about your predictions, we just made an early predictions, and I wanted the Patriots versus the Packers this year. So at this
Yes,
point, I'm one third actually correct at this time,
at this time, right.
depending
Yes,
on
and for
what.
those that don't know, at the end of the year, we do this prediction game. And how it works is either I give the topic or my friend Tony here gives the topic, and your answer has to relate to that said topic. So, for instance, my topic to Tony was the Super Bowl. So his answer had to relate to the Super Bowl, and your prediction, which I have right here, as a matter of fact, you predicted it would be the Patriots against the Packers, with the Patriots winning the Super Bowl. Well, we could safely say now that's out of the question, although the Packers do have a chance of making it into the Super Bowl if they can beat the Seahawks and if they can beat either the Vikings or the 49ers, whoever wins between those two teams.
Which is really funny that buddy over here, Sonic Mix, is a Packers fan. Boo to all blasphemy and the people that live in Chicago who are Packers fans. If you're a Packers fan, move to frickin'
Hey,
Green Bay.
Hey, you know what? You know what? I will be honest with you with something here. There are some people, and I'm sure you've met them as well, but there are Green Bay Packers fans that live in Chicago. As a matter of
I'm
fact,
aware. Actually, I do work with a couple of them, and we all call them blasphemy people at my place of employment.
actually,
Even one broad ended up wearing a Packers shirt to work, working. I'm like, you don't live in Green Bay. You live in motherfucking Chicago or the suburbs of Chicago.
I mean, I knew.
Hold up.
Oh, go ahead, go
The
ahead.
rule is for my employment company, you have to wear your team's merch. I know you're a Packers fan, but you're not supposed to wear Packers gear to work. You're supposed to wear Bears gear to work. And I'm like, what the actual F? Why are you wearing a Packers shirt to work?
Maybe somebody could wear a Cody Parkey shirt with the words "double doink" on it.
I'll have to see that. I'll actually like to see that.
Oh my god! But no, if I can just say this really quick, at my previous job, there were a few people, actually maybe a couple, that were Packers fans, and they were born here in Chicago. And as a matter of fact, last year, October, to be exact, it was October. I was invited to a party, and this guy who I met, who I'm friends with on Facebook, we were actually chit chatting, as a matter of fact, during the Seahawks and Eagles game. And he's actually an Eagles fan. And he doesn't like the Bears. He doesn't like the organization and how the organization runs the place, pretty much. And
Right.
he said that he jumped up and down when the Bears blew the field goal kick, the infamous double doink by Cody Parkey.
Hold your horses. To be fair, with that missed kick, supposedly in the records, that guy actually made it the first time around, and they did the infamous blow the freaking timeout at the last millisecond. So, is there anything in the rules saying when you're allowed to invoke your timeout?
You can call
because
your timeout whenever you please, as long as you call the timeout before the ball is snapped.
because he was in the midst of kicking the ball, and they did the timeout right then and there,
I think
and
it
he
was a
actually
little
made it.
bit before. I have to see the video again. I believe it was just before. So yeah, he did get it the first time, but they called the timeout in time, and then the second time was the double doink.
That guy, I swear.
Oh my god. I
Uh,
bet oh my god. You know what though? If I can talk about him for just a second. That
sure,
incident, it reminded me so much of the what was his face? Steve Bertman?
Bartman for the
Bartman.
Chicago Cubs.
Right, Bartman, excuse me. Steve Bartman. It reminded me so much of that. The only difference is he was a fan in the audience. Cody Parkey was a player on the team.
And to be uh, honest with the history with that, I can tell you one thing. Uh, with what's it called, Steve Bartman, that seat that he sat in at Wrigley Field
Yeah.
for many years, they intentionally on Ticketmaster, StubHub, what what have you, they've always made that seat automatically sold out. Like nobody literally sat in that seat for many years until when they did the apology, this and that. Now at this moment, I believe that they uh, buried the hatchet when the Cubs actually won the World Series in 2016. So now Steve Bartman could go to a Cubs game right now if he really wanted to and sit in that infamous seat if he wanted to. Well, let's pray to freaking God that he doesn't, or what have you, that he doesn't catch the ball this time around. You know what I mean?
You know what? I think he even said for the record. I think this was his words. He said that he appreciated the offer, but he even said that I just don't I don't know if he said I don't feel comfortable, but he said something along those lines. And you know what? I think he just has not forgotten of what happened. Because I mean, let's think about it. The guy was not only booed, the guy was death threatened. He had death threatening emails and letters. Like they knew where the guy. Apparently, some people knew where he lived. Could you imagine him? I mean, what he did is something that anybody would have had done.
You're right.
I mean, but you know what's funny in a way? If you look back at that from 2003, you look back at it, six other people were doing it, but all the blame went on Steve. It's like, why not this guy next to him? Why not that guy right next to him? But this guy, I don't know. I think there was a little bit of injustice. At least I think. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But then you look at Cody Parkey's stake. You know, I'm sure he had the same thing. Although I'm sure his was a lot worse. Steve Bartman was probably. I mean, I'm sure the comparison is like night and day. You know, you go back to 2003. You know, there were cell phones, but not the cell phones we have now. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. There was none of those social media giants. And the only best way that they could get to him was letter or email. If they somehow figured out his email, where he lived, if that happened today and they knew he had a Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, oh, they would have blown up his Twitter account. They would have blown up his Instagram. I'm sure they did the same thing to Cody Parkey. They blew it up so much, it wouldn't surprise me if he closed his account. And then of course you had that one angry Bears fan as he's walking out of the Soldier Field, 8 million, 10 million. I don't know how much money he's getting paid, but that cocksucking Cody Parkey can make a goddamn kick in this. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, I heard about
That
that,
guy was pissed.
and even coworkers were pissed off about that kicker. And now look at this year with the Bears, with the Mitch Trubisky's, all of it, his incidences and like up his ass, almost getting injured or getting out of the game every single time, and then we ended up having a backup quarterback at that point. I'm like, dude, what the actual f? It's either one. Well, Cubs did something this year was that they got a new coach. Good for them. What's next? Or we're gonna have a new Bears coach next year? I pray we do.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Bears staff is definitely not the greatest, and the Cubs, well, I don't know. What's his face? The new manager now. What's his face again?
David Ross.
David Ross. You know, you know what? I feel like they brought him in as a special attraction because you got to ask yourself this question. Does he have any management skills? Does he know how to manage? Can he be a good manager? Honestly, I'm saying this now. I think it's not going to go anywhere. I think he's just going to be there as a special attraction. That's all I
Well,
think it is.
looking for the Boston Red Sox, Alex Cora, for instance. Uh, he was a former member of the Red Sox, and now he's a manager for the Red Sox, and they end up winning. What was it? A year or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I think as a first-time coach, him winning the World Series for the very first time as a coach, arguably he might be one of the miracle greatest coaches that Red Sox has ever had.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that all managers are just strictly managers. I mean, freaking what's his face? Joe Gallardi, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he used to play for the Cubs and he became a
Yep.
manager for the Yankees.
Yep.
Dusty Baker, I think he used to play for the Cincinnati Reds if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he became a Cubs manager and he's right back at home with Cincinnati. Um who's another one? Oh, oh
I believe
god.
Lou Piniella was
Yes,
a
yes. I think
player.
he played for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
That, and I think the Reds as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he was on two different teams before he became a manager.
Yes. So yeah, I mean you managers were also baseball players at one point in their prime.
Which not a lot of people knew that.
Yeah.
There has never, I don't think in recent memory, a manager has always been a manager and never a player. They've almost always have been a player at one point or another in their careers, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would think as well. But I mean, well, we'll see what this baseball season holds. And I said this to you many months ago. I did not watch one single game at all. And I wanted to watch game 7 of the World Series back in October, but for some reason it wasn't showing up on my TV. So I was just kind of like, well, screw it. I guess I'll just hear the final result. And that's when I heard the Nationals won. And I was like, wow, I'm shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked too. Isn't that their very first victory, though?
Yes, it is.
I feel like in the next 10 years, I'm making an early prediction, we're going to have a lot of first timers in the next 10 years.
Well, if you're saying first timers, maybe the Cleveland Browns will finally win a Super Bowl.
That could be an option.
It could be an option. And I guess before we wrap things up here, final two questions here. If you had to call it right now, who do you think wins the World Series? If you had to make the ultimate guess,
World Series or Super Bowl?
World Series.
I think I have two teams in mind. Red Sox or White Sox. One of those two.
Ooh. Well,
I know
The White Sox did make some good moves. I'll give them that.
I'm aware, but if the Cubs end up getting rid of Chris Bryant, if I'm not mistaken, is his name,
Yeah.
that they're doing like a big rumor going around, and if they get a really good pitcher, an actual really good pitcher, or a third baseman, maybe Cubs might do something about that situation.
And finally, we were talking about Tom Brady a moment ago. Does he retire? Yes or no? And if he doesn't, how much longer can you see him going?
Well, I have three options with him. If he sticks with the Patriots, to which almost a lot of people are predicting that he's going to stick with, 2 years. If he ends up winning another Super Bowl and conquering the Steelers, or if the Steelers conquers the Patriots in their all-time record, if neither of those two happens, and if he goes for a third year, and if Aaron Rodgers is still for the the Packers, I would so laugh, and if they could figure out a way to rub it in the Packers' face and sign Tom Brady to a Bears contract in the third year when he becomes a free agent at his third year, and finally do the dream match of all dream matches: Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady.
Well, that could only be like NFC championship match quality, not Super Bowl though. But I don't. I mean, if I make my, I mean, I'm gonna make my prediction now. I say no, he doesn't. I say he goes for about another 2 years, and he started as a Patriot. He will end with the Patriots.
You'll never know. That guy's a mystery.
He is indeed. And I gotta say, this wraps up our very first episode of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. And I gotta say, I really love this. We had some good topics to talk about, great talks. And hopefully, as of this message, hopefully, maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday night, we'll see. We'll do our predictions for NXT UK Takeover and maybe a couple
But
other topics that we could talk about.
hold on, fans. I gotta admit something right now that our lovely host failed to mention. This isn't our first time in the rodeo with these broadcasting topics and whatnot. We've done one or two in the past before, so we're going to try to bring it back, if you will.
Yes, definitely. Like I
New
said,
decades, new topics, new anything and everything, like you mentioned.
yeah, and like I said, I mean, maybe one topic would talk about a little bit of a personal story that happened, or an incident that happened, or something that we saw that is kind of newsworthy to talk about. Just about anything that we can honestly talk about.
Because off broadcasting, top like when we did this whole ordeal right now, one of the topics that may be in our future topics is the topics of cell phones. That is one of the topics that we're going to be
Actually,
talking about.
Actually, I had a very good conversation with a friend of mine yesterday about cell phones, but we'll talk about that in the next episode because we'll be talking about that for a good hour, literally. So we'll save that.
Our a topic that we thought was going to be 20 or 30 minutes now
Oh,
turned into an
jeez.
hour.
Well,
How
well,
the
we'll
hell did
we'll
this
we'll
happen?
save that. We'll save that for episode
No,
two.
no, 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 no. Pre-humor me with this. How the hell did a 20 or 30-minute topic turn into an hour?
Well, no, it's just that you get talking about not just the positives of cell phones, but there's a lot of negativity with cell phones and a lot of memes that you see that are very true that's connected with the cell phone. And while, yeah, it may look funny at first, but if you really think long and hard about it, it's a little scary to think about it.
You're not wrong. You're
But
not wrong indeed.
yeah, but that will be another topic for another time. We will be shooting for either Friday night or Saturday night. We don't have really a set schedule per se. It's basically just whenever we decide to talk, and we got some topics rolling. So I want to take this time to thank everyone for tuning in, for listening to the first episode of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. Once again, I am your host, Matthew Teets, alongside my guest, who will probably be eventually a co host because you're probably going to hear him more times than any. Future co host, guest, can you please say your name one more time for the audience, please?
My name is Tony Triple Trinity for all you fans out there, and my being future co-host.
And really quick, you can follow me on the Twitter at sonicmix, twitter.com. What's your handle?
Well, like Bully Ray has always mentioned, the Twitter machine. No pun intended when he was in TNA, but I digress. You can follow me at any social media platform, gaming consoles, except for YouTube. That's different, and I'll mention that right after I do the whole spiel. Twitter, Instagram, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, all Triple Trinity 06.
Very nice indeed.
Uh, and for YouTube, it is Sexy Stud 2010, but I got to figure out a way to change that. But I know that there's one way, but I don't know how to go about doing that.
Wow,
But
that's
I
an
digress.
awesome name.
Yeah, that was years ago. I didn't know that I was going to keep this name for as long as I did, but I'm glad I did.
All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, to taking a listen to this. If you really love it, please subscribe and please tune in to episode 2 for the next time. And of course, hit the notification button so that way you are noticed when episode 2 comes and future episodes to come. Thank you, everybody. Hope that you'll be tuning in next time for episode 2 of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. Until then, once again, I am your host, Matthew Sonic Mix, my guest, Tony Trinity, and we say to you, have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bang, bang. Have a nice day.
Yes, and have a nice day. Take care, everyone.